lavishing you, and I am lavishing you, and I'm lavishing you. And welcome. We're here to rock and roll today, as we always are. As everybody knows, we're part of the Agape Association of Communities, which means that we not only follow the teachings of Michael Bernard Beckwith and the Agape community, but it is the truth teachings of all the mystical, magical magnificence of all of the highest realms of truth found in all of the religions. So all of them have a mystical order. All of them, whether it's Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all of them, shamanism, all of the indigenous teachings have that golden thread that you've heard me talk about. That is the golden thread of truth, the absolute truth, and that is what we celebrate here. We not only celebrate it, but we actively participate in it, and we cultivate it. We are not just standing on the sidelines watching as everything passes us by. We're here to participate in a benevolent and beautiful unfoldment and evolution of our soul into a greater and grander experience and expression of magnificence. That is what we are here. That is the mandate of God. God has mandated that you will come to earth and you will rejoice in the human experience, to have fun, and you will rise into your magnificence one way or the other. And we're going to pick the other, because sometimes the one way is the difficult way, and we're picking the other way. Before we get into today in our message today, which is claiming your innocence, as we kind of touched on in the reading, we're going to take a moment. I have a couple people that are here that are near and dear to me. I've known them from Agape for a while. They came out special today. And they, not only did one of them just had a birthday, but they also just got engaged. So I'm going to ask Enoch and Holly, if you wouldn't mind just standing up for a moment. Good news is they are just amazing, incredible people, and you couldn't ask for two more people to come together in union in a way that's actually going to celebrate divine cooperation and goodness. And so we're going to take a moment and we're going to extend our heart to our hands, and we're going to bless you too. So grateful to just take a moment, knowing that as we are the divine harbingers, the lightning rods of God, that we have within us the ability to bless. We take a moment and we harness that. And we extend our heart to our hands, and we extend our blessings to wash over our beloved Holly, our beloved Enoch, in this engagement with a celebration of two souls coming together in divine cooperation to bring out the best in each other, to bring out the best, the most magnificent, to celebrate God as two individuals loving each other as God loves each other through them, and to grow and glow in the most cooperative, in the most healthy, in the most divine, in the most delicious experience. We bless you, we give thanks for you, and we open and we invite you to receive the blessings. We claim it so, we bless it upon you, and so it is. And so it is. Amen. Thank you too for being here. Thank all of you for being here, and happy birthday to all of our February birthday people. As the topic is for today, was that a... All right, cool. Claiming your innocence. Contrary to popular belief, innocence is a divine state of being. It is not something what you proclaim, like, I'm innocent of whatever the charges are. It is a state of being, and innocence is one of the most, it is a divine energy. And as the reading was alluding to, that in that state of being, in that childlike innocence, you become aware. When we're children, oftentimes we are immersed in stories. A lot of stories are being told, and so there's the stories that are being told to us to help groom us and grow us, and then there's the stories that we start to adopt and encode into our beingness. And what are our stories? What's the story we're going to tell? And so we want to be very conscious as we're on our spiritual path. What is the story that you want to tell? And oftentimes in our community, when we're working, so as I mentioned earlier, it's a very critical part of our teachings to step into, a lot of people say, I'm going to step into my power. But what is stepping into your power? Stepping into your egoic power would be something along the lines of, you've been, rude to me, and I'm going to step into my power, and I'm not going to take that. Well, that's not the kind of power I'm talking about. The kind of power I'm talking about is the power of the divine into, through, and as you, expressing itself uninhibited and unrestricted. That is the power we're talking about, the power and the presence of God that is you. And a lot of us play small in life. And we're not here to play small. We're here to get in the game, because the game is here for you, the game of life. And so one of the things we want to be conscious of is, what is the story we're telling out into the world, and to become so adept at being self-aware, which means we have a spiritual practice. And so here, we cultivate and we nurture a spiritual practice that allows us to be awake, to be truly awake, to be in the upper capital case C consciousness, not lowercase c, which is just being kind of lucidly awake, not the lowercase a awake, where you're just like, oh, here I'm awake, but I'm subject to all of the race conscious ideas or the group energies that are out there, and I'm allowing a story to dictate how I live. I am going to dictate through the presence of God as I turn within and become still and commune with God. And that would be, if I were going to kind of laser in, one fundamental difference between us and some other communities or religious aspects are the separation between dogma and embodiment, where we choose to embody the teachings of the masters, the teachings of Jesus or Mohammed or Moses or Krishna. There are truth teachings that are here to be awoken through us, to awaken through us. And so one of those ways that we become aware of that is in our daily practice of prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation is a practice until it is no longer necessary as a practice. It's just a way of being. In the beginning stages of prayer, we use it as a medium or a vehicle to go to, we want to pray for something. I want to have an experience. I want to transmute something. I'm praying for something to come into my life. So we use it as a way to become conscious. We become conscious. What am I praying for? In more modern lingo today, you can't go anywhere. A yoga class or a meditation class or something, which has become very popular these days. You can't go anywhere with, what's your intention? An intention is the same thing as a prayer request. What is your prayer request? And knowing that in all things are possible in God. Anything is possible in God, as long as your story doesn't get into the way. And your story, you might not believe this, but your story usually has this one little ingredient that you want to become exceedingly mindful. And those are your excuses. Your excuses as to why something can or cannot happen. And you want to be very cognizant of your excuses. Most excuses fly underneath the radar. We don't even know that we have an excuse. We just let it be our way of life. We don't want to let our excuses be our way of life. And we want to start to understand that there's a dualistic meaning. I find it fascinating when you study linguistics and language. There's excuses that I have that are like, oh, well, the reason I'm not prosperous is because so-and-so won't, participate in my expansion, or the reason I'm not, because my boss, he just really doesn't like me, or, the reason that I am not successful is because, I don't know how to, the people are not marketing me enough, or whatever it is. There's the excuses. And then there's the other word, the other way to use the word excuse, which is excuse me. You excuse what is going on, and you move beyond. So we're moving over to excuse me, and becoming alive and awake in the consciousness that allows us to be liberated from the excuse. We don't want to be in the excuse, we want to be in the excuse me. We want to excuse ourselves, it's like, oh, you're headed somewhere, and somebody says, oh, excuse me, and you just keep on going to what you're going for. Oh, somebody's in my way, okay. I'll just sit here and just, sometimes we do that, don't we? It's like, no, we want to feel the divine impulse within us, the call. We want to be so connected to the call of our soul. And as you've heard me say before, we're not taking no for an answer. We are only taking yes because God vibrates at the frequency of yes. That is the only thing. You want to have a miserable day? Yes! You can have a miserable day. You want to have a brilliant day? Yes! You can have a brilliant day. God vibrates at yes. So we are saying yes to our good, yes to our... That's why we do our affirmations. That's why we do the primordial Om. We are lifting ourselves into a higher vibration. That is our job. Our job is to rise above the temporal, transitory, illusionary energies of fear, because there are two elements to the human experience. There's fear and there's love. Fear expresses as anger, frustration, excuses, stories, guilt, shame, and we want to rise above those into the innocence of love. Love expresses as innocence. Innocence is freedom, and then we're into that childlike experience where we're like, what about, we use inquiry like when we're children. How does that work? But we want to ask God, how does that work? We want to move into our meditation through inquiry and ask about the mysteries. The first time the plants started talking to me, I was kind of like, oh, wait a minute, whoa. I was like, woo, okay, you're alive. Because God is alive in everything. We all know, we all learned it in science. I remember in 7th grade, everything is energy. Everything is energy that is vibrating at different levels. You've got energy that's vibrating in solids. You've got energy that's vibrating at liquids and gases and ethereal energy. They're all vibrating at different frequencies. And so everything, the other piece of that equation is there's information encoded in the energy. And we want to know, there's a code that says, this is how you be Formica on this podium here. This is how you be a canvas. There's a code in there. And we want to know the code, the mysteries of sacred geometry and wisdom teachings, the mystical teachings, are in understanding the language, the mystery, the information coded back up. So when the plant talks to you, as it talks to George Washington Carver and says, this is what you can do with the peanut, this is what you can do with the herb, this is what we want to do. We want to commune with Spirit in a way that we commune and we ask the right questions and we're in charge of our story. Show me, grant that I may understand within my beingness. These are the things we want to do. We want to become so completely surrendered to the joy of thriving, because that's what life is. Thriving in adventures. And so in the gradations, as we're moving through the evolutionary impulse of our soul, and as you've heard me say dozens, if not hundreds of times, every single one of us is an enlightened master. Every single one of us is on the path to wholeness and enlightenment. There is not one person sitting right here, watching right there, or anywhere on this planet that isn't going to have the revelation that awakens them through their eternal nature. Everyone will. The only difference will be the time. When is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? Am I going to do it through joy and through love and through grace and through beauty? Or am I going to do it through struggle and strife? I'm saying we go with the first half. We go through that, and we're not taking no for an answer. Show me the way. Show me the way. I want that to be coded and loaded into your vernacular that you speak. Show me the way. We want to be more committed to our life with an awareness of God, where God doesn't become a thing where it's like, those God people over there, those spiritual people. It's just like, it just is. It just is. We're out there, and we have an awareness of that divine light shining through everything. That our conversation is always that of high vibrational conversation. That there is no gossip about what's bad and what's wrong. There is only talk about what's good and what's right, and how things are growing. And so in those first evolutionary things, sometimes we encounter challenges. We might have financial challenges, or health challenges, or relationship challenges. And these challenges, if you stay out of the excuse, you move into the innocence of your beingness, and you allow yourself to be soft. The paradox of spiritual growth is you kind of want to understand the opposites. If you want to be strong, you have to be soft. If you want things to go fast, you have to go slow. Those are the paradoxes of life. When you slow down into the stillness, because, I don't have time to meditate, I don't have time to pray. Yes, you do. If you want there to be change, you want to say, okay, because it seems like when you sit down and meditate, I'm not really doing much. But if you want to move mountains, And you'll be still until the stillness overtakes you to such a degree that you're not going into a meditation. You don't even have to worry about it anymore. Like, shh, 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 I'm meditating, shh. It's like you're not going to worry about it. You're just going to be in a ceaseless state of divine awareness. That's the evolutionary impulse, where you move from praying to living the prayer. You're just a living, walking, breathing consciousness of prayer. Prayer is a portal until it becomes a way of life. So, I used to think, oh God, those people that pray, it's like, it was kind of, like, used to think those were the weirdos, and now I'm the weirdo. And so we want to be spiritual weirdos. I want to start a new group, spiritual weirdos. So we want to be aware of that and understand, we start to become aware of certain things, like the butterfly effect. Most of us know about the butterfly effect, where, the basic tenet of the butterfly effect is that a minute experience or expression right here ripples out. It's similar to the ripple effect, but slightly different. Ripples out, and it can create a large transformation or change somewhere else because it's traveling across the fabric of what some people might call dark matter. It's traveling across a fabric that is interwoven, the divine fabric of life that is interwoven into time and space. Time and space is simply something here to support our experiences, but it doesn't really exist. It's mind-boggling sometimes. And you think, oh, well, I swear yesterday something happened, and I'm here right now today, and tomorrow, or next month, I'm going on that retreat to Santa Cruz Island. Little fun there. And so there seems like there's time and space, but really there's the eternal. And when we move within, we return to the beginning. In the beginning was the Word. In the beginning is God. In the beginning is great grace, beauty, love, is innocence. In the beginning is innocence. When you're in that space of innocence, there's nothing that inhibits you. There's nothing that constricts you. So we want to move back, like the beautiful angel who's sleeping in your arms right there, who's in that, when we're young, when we're, 1 and 2, we're just little babies that we haven't learned how to constrict time yet. And that's why kids are like, well, why not? Why can't we do that? Why not? And, or when we're there and they kind of go like this, and they're looking, because they haven't coagulated around time and space yet. And so we were all there, and that butterfly effect of things that ripple out. So we want to become conscious of those things, the laws of cause and effect, the butterfly effect, and things like that, because what we're putting out. But those are primary stages of our evolution. And then we become aware of the different kind of butterfly effect, kind of more the caterpillar effect. So if you were to see what happens when the butterfly, the caterpillar, all of a sudden there's an urge to transform, and it knows that it needs to transform from the caterpillar into the butterfly. And what does it do? It starts to get ready for that, and it starts to turn within. That's what we want to do. We want to transform and kind of use the miraculous. It is just mind-boggling how that caterpillar all of a sudden goes and it creates a chrysalis around it. I know most of you know how it all works. But so when it gets in the chrysalis, then it starts to secrete this emollient that comes out. And if the caterpillar were to fight the emollient that comes out, the secretion destroys the old way. And then we all know that there's the imaginal cells within the caterpillar that know what it is to become the butterfly. They have the code inside the imaginal cells for the wings and everything to take place. So that secretion, that fluid that comes out in the chrysalis, starts to destroy the old way of being, crawling around on the leaves and things and getting ready to spread its wings. But it also secretes the nectar in order for the imaginals to come into their existence. It secretes the energy, the nutrients for the wings to take shape. And that's what we do in our spiritual practice. We've done it literally. When you were in the womb, you were in that chrysalis state. All needs were met in there. You didn't even use your lungs. When you were in the womb, you didn't breathe. All your oxygen came to you through your mom. You weren't in there going, you didn't breathe until you came out. So you came out from a chrysalis, you've already had the physical experience, and then there's the spiritual experience, where we move into the chrysalis, and we allow ourselves to secrete the fluid that is going to transmute the things that no longer serve us, and we're going to grab onto the imaginal serum that's going to birth us and let our wings fly, and then we'll do it again at some other point. That's part of it, until we no longer need to do that. But that's a little bit of what the spiritual practice is about when we turn within, until we turn within where we don't have to turn within anymore. So we want to become cognizant of that. And as one of my Reverend Michael, one of his favorite authors is Howard Thurman. He's also one of my favorite authors, one of the greatest mystics of modern age. And he always, one of his quotes is, "Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve." It's such a powerful statement. It means that I'm freshly connected to the high resolve of my spirit, and I let that be what pulls me and guides me and brings me into the greatest and grandest experience and expression of who I truly am. And so the things, again, that we want to become cognizant of is our story. I had a client once who I gotta tell you, so when, I'm gonna out myself here a little bit. When you're working with clients as a practitioner, sometimes you hear things that are kind of like, whoa, oh my God, I can't believe that's going on. And we're trained that when that comes up, oh my God, that we don't like say it to them and go, oh really, oh my God. You gotta take that and you gotta put it off to the side and you gotta stay in the presence of spirit. And then you can come back to that later and you can transmute it and clean it. Oh man, I can't believe you allowed that to happen. Oh my God. That would do that person no good at that particular point. And so I had a client who used to, this is years and years ago, she would go on and on and on, and she felt very compelled to tell me every little last detail of what was going on in her life, which included the excuses of why it was happening. And I would simply say something like, so what's your intention? And then she would go into this 15-minute diatribe of not giving me an intention, but giving me a story and all the reasons why her intention can't be. So we want to be cognizant to not do that. We don't want to tell a story of why. We don't want to code our story with our excuses that then allow them to perpetuate, because I'm assuming we don't want things to perpetuate that we don't like, that we don't want to experience. We want to be in the driver's seat, which means we have to step out of ego, out of personality, and into the soul, into God. We have to step into that, which means we have to be cognizant of the language of our body and of our emotions, knowing that irritation, frustration, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, those are all indicators that we've logged into a story somewhere, and we want to use those for what they're for, to tell us that there's something that is to be transmuted, something that is to be changed. We want those to be the indicators. Those are the alarms on the dashboard of our beingness that allow us to know that something needs to transmute. It's time to go into the chrysalis, and it's time to secrete the energy that is going to dissolve that which creates mayhem, and it's going to fertilize that which is seeking to reveal itself, so that we may spread our wings and let them be bigger and grander and better than ever before. And so we want to become aware of our intention and reflection. In our class right now, in our prayer and prosperity class, one of my favorite people with regards to prosperity is Edwin Games. That's one of the books we're reading in the class. And we watched, a clip of hers, and she says, one of the things that she does on a regular basis, and this is something I think that we should all take a look at the end of the day, and I'm elaborating on, I'll give you the snippet that she gave us, was at the end of the day, she takes inventory and she says, who did I exclude from my heart today? And so one of the key ingredients to a successful path, successful growth in your spiritual path is, at the end of the day, you want to reflect, where did I not let God express love through me, to me, and for me today? Where did I exclude, as Edwin Gaines would say, exclude someone from my heart? It's very important in the early stage. In the early stages, we do spiritual things, like in the morning, we wake up and we do our meditation, we do our prayer, and maybe we set the tone and the intention for the day. Throughout the day, we're going to be cognizant of who and where and what's going on and what our stories are, and we're going to check in, and maybe sometimes we're going to say, this is one of my favorite things to do, excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. And then you go to the bathroom and you go in the stall and you just get still. You don't have to do any other business. The only business you have to take care of in there is becoming still and transmuting energy. And at the end of the day, we want to go ahead and we want to reflect. Reflection is where we clean up the day. If you don't clean up the day, at the end of the day, you're going to bring that mess with you into the next day or the next week or the next month or the next year. And I'm assuming we don't want to do that. We want to do it in benevolent and glorious ways. So we want to make choices that bring divine, holy love and not rational things. Oh, okay, I'm just really sorry that happened, but I don't really mean it. I'm just like, I just wish that I didn't get irritated. It's like, we don't want to make statements where I'm like, I just wish I didn't get irritated. We want to transmute what's going on and live from that higher place. So that's what we're going to do right now. We do our affirmations, like we did earlier, and we're going to do our declarations. Our declarations, our proclamations are what we are saying yes. As we write our story, we want to have our declarations that we live by. Just like, Moses and the 10 Commandments, and we've got these declarations, these commandments that say, thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not covet, and thou shalt not put any other gods before me. We tap into that, and we want to make it personal, because the most beautiful thing about the divine is when it's personal. When it's not personal, it doesn't really amount to a hill of beans. And so we want our beans to be good beans. Isn't that an expression I can use? I'm not sure. Okay, we're going to just move over to our declaration. So I'm going to invite you to join me. Stand up. We're just going to do our declaration with verve and gusto and a soft and gentle sense of just reverence and meaning. I always make my choices from holy love.
I always make my choices from holy love.
I live in and create a world of grace and joy.
I live in and create a world of grace and joy.
Yes. I always look for the good that is seeking to emerge.
I always look for the good that is seeking to emerge.
I live in this world from and as my divine self.
I live in this world from and as my divine self.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to be seated, and we're just going to go right from here in our declarative state. And we're going to move into prayer. Prayer that is ceaseless. We take a moment as we turn within, we open our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls. We become available, we become benevolently vulnerable, we become soft to the divine light that undergirds and is back of all things, in every space, in every place, in the furthest reaches of the farthest galaxies, amongst the stars and the planets, to the closest, most intimate spaces and places of our tissues, muscles, bones, and cells. We allow ourselves to become so intimately aware of that divine presence. We say yes to inviting, evoking, and allowing that presence to awaken itself, that we may feel, see, hear, know, and understand the grace and the beauty and the light of God, the omniamorous magnificence, and the wisdom and the intelligence that knows how to bloom the flowers and breathe our breath, to beat our hearts and coded in our desires. There are desires coded within our beingness that are seeking to be experienced and expressed in the greatest and grandest ways, and we open to that. We open to the most magnificent experience of living in the world but not of the world, living from our spirit, to rejoice, and allow our personality to enjoy the ride of goodness, to enjoy the ride of God, to enjoy the ride of grace and beauty. We choose that today. We have declared it. We have said yes to taking dominion of our lives, which simply means aligning with the call of the soul, the yearnings of the heart. We say yes to this. I am grateful to know that each and every one of us has everything we need, all the gifts, all the talents, all the abilities, everything necessary, and that we are stepping into a collective knowingness of divine cooperation. Divine cooperation where everything is seeking to bring forward benevolent light through and for everything and everyone. Win-win. This is what we choose. I am so grateful to know today that something wonderful has taken place, that we have all said yes to a greater and grander vision and version of our lives. More God, more good, more love, more joy, more wellness, more peace, more prosperity, glory to greater glory. This is what we claim. This is what we allow to be. This is what we accept by moving into a space of divine, soft, right receivership. We are soft, we are available, we are benevolently vulnerable. We receive our good, claiming it so by saying, and so it is. And so I let it be. Amen. 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 Aho. Ashe. Shalom. Hotep. And hallelujah. Yes. We know that we're here. Thank you so much for it's time for the ushers to come forward. It's our time of conscious giving. We are letting the divine art of circulation to flow to and through us, remembering just as it's coded on our money, it says right there, in God we trust. We trust in infinite benevolent supply coming to and through us. We know that this is not our money, this is divine money that is circulating. It is an energy. If you're watching online, please go to soulcenteroc.com and click on the donate button. We would love to receive anything that you would like if you receive something good from this video. We are grateful for you, we are grateful for you, and we ask that the ushers go forward. Thank you so much.